Hey guys, welcome back. I'm here with my May wrap-up, and did really good this month. I got through about 8 books, so that's good considering I usually make it maybe 3.5 to 4 books. So I'm going to just jump right in here. The first book I read was Glitch by Heather Anastasiu. This I had as a digital ARC on my Nook, and the book itself is going to be paperback, 320 pages. Expected publication date's about August 7th from St. Martin's Press. This world in Glitch is kind of Orwellian in nature. The community is like the governing body in this story, and they're like Big Brother. They're always watching. And anything considered out of the ordinary is anomalous behavior and needs to be reported immediately. And this story takes place after a nuclear war, and people are now living underground, believing that the air is poisonous above, and there's acid rain and radiation. And during that particular war, a lot of the soldiers had what's known as a V-chip inserted into them, which enabled them to all link together and thus be a better fighting unit, able to communicate instantly and work together. And after the war, the government, the community, kind of convinced the population that that'd be a good thing for everybody to have. We could all join together after this war and become one big, quote-unquote, community. So everyone, after they're born, they start out with a small chip, and as they grow, the chip is changed out until they reach adulthood. Then they get their final V-chip. And this story, its main protagonist is Zoe, and she's glitching, which means her V-chip isn't functioning properly. And during those times, she drops out of the link and has this amazing sense of freedom. She's able to see colors and experience emotions and all sorts of senses that the V-chip kind of suppresses, and which allows the government to kind of control people. And she's afraid that, someone's going to find out and report her, and she knows she should report herself, according to the laws of society at this point, but she doesn't want to let go of this freedom. And during one of these times when she glitches, she happens to see this boy watching her. She's afraid that he's what they call a monitor. And monitor's main job is to watch for anomalous behavior, even though, like I said, anybody can report you for this kind of behavior. So on more than one occasion, she spots this boy around her. There's a scene that happens during the book. I don't want to get into too much detail, but this boy, who we later find out his name is Adrian, comes to her rescue. And at that point, she finally discovers that he himself is also a glitcher. And this book was a debut novel, and it was full of surprises. Kept me guessing throughout the whole time. Like I said, it's kind of creepy, 1984-ish kind of style book. Great characters, really engaging plot, very quick read, and it is, I believe, going to be a trilogy, but I'm not positive. But there is definitely a sequel because they leave you with a nice little cliffhanger, and it's definitely worth picking up. Again, expected date is around August 7th of this year, 2012. After that, I listened to Forever by Maggie Stiefvater. This is book 3 in the Wolves of Mercy Fall series. If you've seen some of my previous videos, you know I'm not too big of a fan of the previous 2 books, but I was determined to finish the whole thing. I did listen to all of them rather than read them in a physical format. Let's see, how do I describe it? This one had a bit more action than the previous 2 books. The wolf population is in an imminent danger in this one. A little bit more action. Overall, I'd say I never really connected with any of the characters. It was some of the newer ones they brought in. Cole is one of the characters. He's he's kind of a musician who's left his band and everything. Some people think he's dead. His father is like this genius in the scientific world, and he kind of uses some of this scientific stuff to try and figure out how they became wolves. Why is it that they change during temperature and all that? If you know the whole series, but some of it was just too far-fetched. Just because his father is a scientist doesn't mean he knows anything about this. If he hasn't studied this, some things were just a little too far-fetched. And my biggest problem with this book was there was no definitive ending. It's like the author left it up for you to decide, and to me, I felt cheated. I wanted a clear-cut ending as to what's going to be happening with these people, and never quite got it. This book I only gave 3 stars. Again, some people like it. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't my writing style. It's just a little too slow. a little too unfinished, I guess, is the best way to describe it. Then, the big May read is Insurgent by Veronica Roth. This is, of course, book 2 in the Divergent series. I've seen a couple reviews. Some people like it. Some people seem to think it's kind of like a filler between book 1 and book 2, that there wasn't enough substance in it. I think at first I allowed that to judge my, color my judgment before. But as I got more into it, I saw that there was a lot of substance in this book. It's a bit drawn out. I think it could have done with a bit more editing. Although some things that were missing were like a recap. For those of us who have read Divergent a while ago, I didn't remember all the characters. I didn't remember where they left off. I had to kind of grab my copy of Divergent and flip through and see who was who and, oh, that's what happened to that person. Okay, So I thought that was lacking in this book. I have heard there is a website somewhere set up by the author to take care of these issues, but it doesn't state it in the book. For those who haven't heard that information, wouldn't know. I don't even know exactly where to look for it. I suppose if you just kind of search it out on Google it or something, you might come across it. But I've heard it from other vloggers who've mentioned it. But I needed that information. It's been too long for me, and I've read too many books in between to kind of keep track of all that. But there a lot of things that kind of bother me with this is Triss's character. At the end of Divergent, she's a pretty tough character. But the beginning of this one, because of some things that she had to do in Divergent, she's a bit different of a character here. Kind of more hesitant, less likely to take action. And it's sort of like I missed that kind of kick-ass, go-getter kind of girl that she had been developing into. Things do change. It does pick up a bit. There is enough action, like I said, and there are some surprises and a wonderful ending. So overall, I still enjoyed the writing style. Just some things were missing and some things I think could have been left out of the book. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. And I'm just kind of referring to some of my notes so I keep track of what I graded everything here. After that, I should say during a lot of this time, I was also listening to Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. That's the audio version. I also have the book version here. This is 370 pages. It was published back in 1996. Finally getting around to, finally got around to listening to it. And I'm going to read the little description from Goodreads. It's described as, when Richard Mayhew stops one day to help a girl he finds bleeding on a London pavement, his life is forever altered. For he finds himself propelled into an alternative reality that exists in a subterranean labyrinth of sewer canals and abandoned subway stations. He has fallen through the cracks of reality and has landed somewhere different, somewhere that is Neverwhere. This is an adult urban fantasy. It kind of reminiscent of Alice in Wonderland and elements of The Wizard of Oz. There's a lot of similarities between those stories as well. And after helping this girl, who we later learned is named Dor, he just becomes this non-person. He tries to go to work. They don't know who he is. He tries to communicate with people. It's almost like he's a ghost trying to talk to them. It's like they don't see him unless he pesters them enough, and then after maybe a brief conversation, he's forgotten again. He goes home, and he's in his apartment. Next thing you know, people are in there looking over the apartment like, well, yeah, this person, we don't know what happened to the previous owner. It's like he's standing right there. They just don't see him. His life is just over as he knows it. So he pretty much, at this point, finds himself lost and alone on the streets, and his only hope is to try to track down the Lady Dor to see if he can get his life back. And thus begins this amazing adventure that he helps assist Dor on her quest in the hopes of finding his own way home. Neil Gaiman just has, like I said, this fantastic voice when he's reading this. It just drew me in. I love the way he acted out all the characters. My particular favorites are like the evil henchmen in here, Mr. Kroop and Mr. Vandermeer. Mr. Kroop is kind of this politely creepy kind of assassin, and Mr. Vandermeer is kind of like the muscle, but kind of the dim-witted muscle. The story moved at just a really nice pace, lots of action. Like I said, it's almost like you're in an Alice in Wonderland or Wizard of Oz story, and I'm really looking forward to tracking down more of his books and reading them or listening to them. After that, I had ordered these books through the mail. They're self-published by Casey Hilton. There is the Magic of Finkleton and the Return to Finkelton. And these are middle grade books. And it's a story of a perfect little village called Finkelton. And there, the weather's always perfect. It's like kind of almost a farming community. So all the crops are like the biggest, the best in the world. And it's so perfect there, nobody ever seems to want to leave. And this is a story that follows the Finkel family. And they move into their Uncle Harry's shop after he passes away. And there are 3 young children, Jack, Lizzie, and Robert. And while they're there, they kind of uncover a lot of the town's secrets, including several hidden within the shop itself. And it was a very enjoyable, quick read. It's perfect for young readers. Obviously, it's great. It's geared for middle grade. But I enjoyed it. I love reading middle grade. Kind of makes you feel like a kid again, and really enjoyable. Return to Finkelton. Oh, actually, I forgot. I gave this 5 stars. I'll review what I gave the stars. I think I forgot to mention on some of them, but I'll give you a review, and I'll also post it down below. In Return to Finkelton, so again, this is like 210 pages. It starts out about 2 years after the events in the first book. And there's even more magical wonders that affect Jack, Lizzie, and especially Robert in this particular case. Who uncovers a secret room in the shop that no one had known about. And, yeah. I like this one even more. There's a lot more adventure, almost more dire circumstances if things aren't set right. And it was just really delightful. It kept me engaged the whole time. There is a little bit... yeah, this is a little sneak preview at the back end of what is supposed to be, I believe, called Saving Finkelton, which will be the conclusion of the series. So, yeah, they show age range about 9 to 12, and they're just beautifully self-published books, beautiful designs on these. Yeah, so there's that one. And then I received an ebook from the author himself, Richard Denney. This is the Immortalist. This is book 1 in the Immortalist trilogy. And this is also a middle grade book. It's there's going to be Fateful, which is listed as book 2. Expected date is around December 2012, according to Goodreads. And there's another one, which will be book 3, called Eternal, but there's no date given for that yet. And this is the story of 13-year-old Rowan Burton, who, after the death of his parents, goes to live with his grandfather. And his grandfather is, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, and I apologize if it's wrong, but he's known as a Dafar, which is also a caller, someone who can contact and bring the dead back for a short period of time. And one night, this man arrives with this young girl asking for help from Rowan's grandfather, and he needs to communicate with his dead brother. So after the communication and contact's made, the brother says that this girl that he's traveling with is in danger from these 2 sinister wizards that are after her. And Rowan and his grandfather are asked to help protect her. This young girl that we learn later on is named Ever, and she's an Immortalist. An Immortalist is someone who can give immortality to another person, but it's at the cost of their own lives. So this is like an adventure story full of all sorts of creatures. I mean, we came across ghosts, wizards, The Walking Dead, and my favorites are the Grinicles. And if you want to find out what they are, you're going to have to pick up the book. But I really enjoyed that. I gave that 5 out of 5 stars. And there's the cover again. It's a really quick read. It's only like about 116 pages. And the last book I read was Looking for Alaska by John Green. I have finally gotten around to this. I'm kind of working my way backwards. I started out with The Fault in Our Stars, and then 19 Catherines. No, Paper Towns, then the 19 Catherines, and then this one. Or Abundance of Catherines, I should say. But this is a young adult contemporary, and the story is told from the point of view of Miles Halter. He's kind of a non-person. Not much happens in his life. It's pretty uneventful, pretty boring. I mean, his main fascination is with famous last words. He doesn't have a lot of friends. In fact, his parents try to throw him this going-away party, and only 2 people show up just to say bye, have a good time, and they're gone. So off he goes. He's off to Culver Creek boarding school in his junior year in an attempt to kind of start afresh. And this is a school that his father had gone to. There he meets a boy nicknamed the Colonel. That's his roommate. There's the Eagle. That's the Dean of Students. Takumi, he's a Japanese student. And Lara, she's an exchange student. And then also the interesting and utterly fascinating Alaska Young, for whom the book is named after. As he becomes part of this kind of band of misfits, he starts joining in on some of the pranks they play, and he finds himself becoming more and more fascinated with Alaska and kind of attracted to her. This book has a really unusual structure. Let me see if I can come across the page. It's set up into two parts. There's before and after. Just about read that. And it's not chapters in it, but the book begins with 136 days before, and when you reach the end, the last part is 136 days after, and it's after a major event that takes place that's going to change their lives forever. It's a very moving book. There's humor in it. There's, it makes you laugh, makes you cry, like most John Green books seem to do to me, and makes me want more. So I also gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Fantastic read. That covers everything. Just going to review really quick, in case I forgot. Like I said, the stars. Glitch, I gave 5 out of 5 stars by Heather Anastasiu. Forever, 3 out of 5 stars by Maggie Stiefvater. Insurgent, 4 out of 5 stars by Veronica Roth. Neverwhere, gave it 4 out of 5 stars by Neil Gaiman. The Magic of Finkleton and the Return of Finkelton series, I gave both 5 out of 5 stars. I have lost my little paper. Oh, there it is. The Immortalist, I gave 5 out of 5 stars. And of course, Looking for Alaska, 5 out of 5 stars. So like I said, it was been a busy month. I got through a lot of books. It helped having 2 of them on audio and 3 of them being middle grade, but I'll take it. Definitely a step up, and I'm kind of moving through some of my books. Currently, I am catching up on some other ones here. I don't know if I'll be able to show you this one. Let me bring this back up again. I was going to show you on my Kindle, but I'm having issues with that, and I don't know if the battery is going completely, but I'm reading one of my ebooks by Cindey Swanson. This is Rippler, and it's got a really gorgeous cover. I hope I will be able to show some of it. Eek. You know, it's too much glare, but there's this woman kind of walking into the sea. You know, like in most YA books, they're just floating off into the water. Anyway, it's called Rippler by Cindey Swanson. It's part 1 of, I believe, a trilogy. And it's about a girl who just can't control becoming invisible. It's apparently some sort of disease. This friend of hers, his sister, has been studying this with a professor, kind of like a secret project on the side that the professor was doing. 2 of his previous colleagues have been killed, and the professor is now missing. So when he first sees this happen to his friend, he warns her, keep quiet, don't tell anybody about it. And they're trying to figure out what causes this. They don't know. She has no control over it. So far, no one else has spotted her doing this, but he believes her life could be in danger. And the other one I'm reading is Shatter by Tahereh Mafi. Oops, there we go. And this is an advanced copy I got for some time, about a girl who's, as it describes in the back, I have a curse, and then it's crossed out. It says, I have a gift, I am a monster, crossed out, I'm more than human. My touch is lethal, crossed out, it says, my touch is power. I am their weapon, crossed out, it says, I will fight back. This is a debut novel about a girl, obviously, whose touch can be lethal, and they want to use her for a weapon. It's interestingly told. I mean, I really like the way it's sort of like she self-edits her thoughts. There are passages, oh boy, it's very blurry here. Passages you can see over here kind of crossed out. Really interesting writing style. It kind of reminds me of Chuck Palahniuk's Fight Club. As I go through, this like whole beginning part here is I'm not insane, I'm not insane, I'm not insane, all chopped off. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm only in the 91 pages, so can't see where I'm at now. But I'm really enjoying that. And this other one too, Rippler. So I'm going to try and make a plan to hit up at least one of my ebooks a month. See how that works out. But I got to start whittling at that. I think it's well over probably 96 or almost 100 ebooks that I've downloaded for free. So we'll nitpick at that, and I'll let you know how they are. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And I'll see you again soon. I've got a book haul planned. So now that I'm on vacation, I should be able to get that loaded up pretty soon. So see you later. Thanks for watching.